Okay, first, I would like to say that next week, the lecture will be on Wednesday. I think it's at Batel. This is, next week we have swapped the class from Wednesday and Friday. So, okay. At what time? 9, the standard time. I think it's 9:15. Last time we have constructed a state sum invariant of cobordism and studied its properties. So we will see that this fits into a two-dimensional topological quantum field theory. So I first will define what are topological quantum field theories. Okay. So in this chapter, I will fix some integer n greater than 1. So first, I will define what are n cobordism. So the definition is almost the same as for two cobordism. So what is n cobordism? Is let's call it sigma. This is a quadruplet, sigma C0 C1 H where here C0 C1 are closed oriented n minus 1 manifolds. Sigma is a compact oriented n manifold. And H parameterizes the boundary of sigma, so H goes from the opposite. So C0 minus C0 is C0 with opposite orientation. So minus C0 disjunct union with C1. So we have an orientation preserving over our field. Orientation preserving over our field. Okay. And for n equal to 2, we recover the definition I gave last time. So the picture for n let's say for one n is 1. What is a 0? What is a closed oriented 0 manifold? There are points, so oriented means that the points are signed, comes with signs. So here, so let's say C0 is, let's say this, and C1 is just this collection of points. I will take this one, for example. And sigma here, you can take, for example, and here, yeah. And you have an orientation H and C1 H. This is a picture for one cobordism. And for n equal to 2, we have already seen this. Something like this, so C1, for example. C2. And here you have the cobordism. Let me have some genius. So minus C0, you have a nomomorphism with this. And C1. This is H. So this is the picture. So you can imagine what are going in dimension 3, 4, and so on. Okay. And we say that two cobordisms.
Sorry. Do we require that sigma also actually has a boundary component on one or C1 or C2? So for example, can we add a loop there, just an S1 there without any boundary, and it's still a cobordism? Or?
Yeah, you may.
Upstairs. Yeah, if we add a loop, it's still a cobordism?
Yeah, of course. You can add. So this is, you can. And here you can add a closed surface if you want. And if you have no boundary, you are cobordism from the empty set to the empty set. The empty set is considered as n-1 manifold, as a manifold in any dimension. Okay, and two, so n cobordism are, let's say, homeomorphic if there is an orientation I will call this homomorphic sigma C0, C1, H, and sigma prime is sigma prime C0, C1, H prime. So two cobordisms from C0 to C1 are homomorphic if there is an orientation preserving homeomorphism. Let's call it, let's say, G from sigma to sigma prime, such that. So it must respect the parametrization of the boundary. So it is alpha H is H prime. Okay. Okay. Now, again, yeah, there is. We will see some example. So, if I take a closed G, sorry. Let's see, be a closed oriented n-1 manifold. So the cylinder of C is this, let's call it C of C is C times 0, 1, C, CH, where H, so we need the orientation preserving homomorphism from positive C disjunction C to the boundary of C cross 0, 1. But this boundary is C cross, so minus C cross 0 disjunction C cross 1. And again, so if X is negative C, you send it to what X 0. If Y is in C, you send it to Y1. Okay. And you can check this is So this is n cobordism. More generally, if we take an orientation preserving homeomorphism between, so closed oriented and this one manifold. So the cylinder of, you can define the cylinder of this homomorphism to be the following n cobordism. So you take C prime cross 0, 1, C prime H F, and where HF, so you need to define a map from this to the boundary of C prime cross 0, 1. So this is minus C prime cross 0, shorten C prime cross 1. So what can you do to define such a map? So if X is minus C, you go there using F. If it's Y in C prime, go to X, Y, 1. So this is indeed n minus 1 n cobordism. And so for them, you have still the cylinder of the identity, just the same as this. Cylinder of C. And of course, as we have done in dimension 2, we can compose n cobordisms. So the composition of, if I take a first cobordism from C0 to C1, and the second from C1 to C2, is the following n cobordism. So sigma prime, sigma, so it is you need to cobord from C0 to C2. So I need. So how is obtained? It's like in dimension 2. Sigma prime is you glue sigma and sigma prime along their common boundary. So here, C is so from so H prime H inverse from so H of C1 to H prime of C1. So you can glue here with homomorphism. And H prime, so minus C0 disjunction C1 delta sigma prime. So the boundary now of sigma prime is from C0 minus C0 so this homomorphism is so is defined so if I take X in C0 I send it to h of x, and if I take y in C2, I send to h prime of y. Okay. So this is a composition. You can check that this is indeed an n-cobordism. And for example, you have the following property. If you take any n-cobordism sigma from C0, C1H, so what can you do? You can compose with a cylinder of C0. So sigma compose with the cylinder of C0. It will be homomorphic to sigma, and it will be homomorphic to the cylinder of C1 composed with sigma. When you glue cylinder, it does not change the cobordism up to homomorphism. And now, another property is the following. Okay. So, if I take orientation preserving homomorphism, so if f from C to C prime, G to C prime, so between closed oriented n-1 manifold. So I can consider the cylinder. So we know so the cylinder of the GF will be homomorphic as an n-cobordism to the composite of the cylinder of G, cylinder of F. You can check this. And so you have okay. 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 Okay, so that's the basic cobordisms. So now I will define the notion of topological quantum field theories. So n-dimensional topological quantum field theory, so this stands for TQFT stands for topological quantum field theory. So over a field, so let's take over a field K. So this consists in the following. Data. Okay, so we have some data and some actions. Okay, so first, we have a vector space so let's call it Z of C is associated to each closed oriented n-1 manifold. second, we have, as you can imagine, for cobordism, we associate a linear map Z of sigma Z0. So we have a linear map for each n cobordism from C0 to C1. And we need some other isomorphism, so let's call it Z of 0 from the ground field K. So let's say a K-linear isomorphism 0 from K to the vector space associated to the empty set, empty manifold, and also we need K-linear isomorphism. Let's denote them like Z2C prime. So what can you do? You can consider the tensor product over K of the vector spaces associated to C and C prime, but you can also consider the vector space associated to the disjunct union of C and C prime. And you want this space are isomorphic. For every closed oriented n-1 manifold C. Okay. So these are the data, and now we have actions. So such that
sorry, what is the method in this?
2.
Okay, sorry.
Because just for numbers of entries.
Okay.
Because, you know, yes. I will make a comment later on. Okay, so the first action, let's call it topological invariance. So, if sigma prime are homeomorphic n cobordism from C0 to C1. So if I have two homeomorphisms which are homeomorphic, so they induce map are equal. Then, so we have Z of sigma and Z of sigma prime are linear map from Z of C0 to Z of C1. And you require that when the cobordisms are homeomorphic, the associated linear maps are the same. So this is the first action. It does depend only on the topology of the cobordisms. That's why we call them topological quantum filtering. So second is functoriality. So what does it mean? This means that for all n cobordism, if I have first cobordism from C0 to C1, and the second cobordism from C1 to C2, then I can consider their composite. this is a cobordine from C0 to C2. I can take the linear map, associated linear map. And we require that this is a composition of the linear map associated to sigma and sigma prime. Okay. So this is the first action for functor. Now for, and also all oriented, so closed, n-1 manifold. See, we require that what is the value on the cylinder, we require that it is the identity of the space of C. Okay. So there is two other axioms, but first I make a remark. So this axiom, 1 and 2, they imply that to each orientation preserving homeomorphism, let's call F from C to C prime between closed oriented n-1 manifolds. So if you have an orientation preserving homeomorphism, F from C to C prime, so it is associated qu'un linéaire isomorphisme let's call it Z of F. It is defined as the value of the cylinder of F from Z of C to Z of C prime. And the axiom implies that for the composite, you have this, it respects the composite. This comes from the homomorphism I gave for cylinders, and the axiom of the identity of C is identity of Z of C. Okay. Okay. So the first two axioms already imply this fact. Now we need some axioms concerning these isomorphisms, Z0, Z2. So the first axiom is multiplicative. Third axiom, so this is called multiplicativity. Okay. So first, for all so closed oriented n-1 manifolds, C prime. So the following diagrams are commutative. So what can we do? So I can take Z of C, tensor product with Z of C prime, tensor product with Z of C prime prime. So I need some parentheses like this. Can take this tensor product. So this is isomorphic, of course, to this tensor product. Okay, so now what can I do? So using Z2, here I can take Z2 C prime, tensored with identity. So I end up with Z of C disjunct union C prime, tensor C prime prime, and again with Z2 of C disjunct union C prime prime, I end up with Z of C disjunct union C prime, disjunct union C prime prime. Of course, this we have an isomorphism, so I explain. So and I can do the same in the opposite. So I can take first identity of ZC tensor Z2 C prime prime. I end up with ZC Z of C prime disjunct union C prime prime. And here I can take Z2 C prime disjunct union C prime prime. Okay. So we need this to commute another one. And what can you do? I can go from Z of C, so this is Z of C disjunct union empty set. So I can do here Z2 C empty set to Z of C in the opposite direction. I put Z2 C empty set, so this is Z of C tensor product Z empty set. Now this is isomorphic to Z of C times the ground field K, and here I can take identity of Z of C times Z0. And we need that this commute. Okay, let me. So here let's call this one, this two, and this three. So the isomorphism one is the standard K-linear isomorphism. If I have three vector spaces G, I have the standard isomorphism from like this. So of vector spaces. So the tensor product is associative via standard isomorphisms, and this isomorphism is called one is this one. So the isomorphism two is induced. I explained before that if you have an orientation preserving homeomorphism between closed oriented n-1 manifolds, it induces a K-linear isomorphism. See the remark above. So this isomorphism 2 is induced by what? by the standard. This is the obvious orientation preserving homeomorphism. C disjoint union C prime, disjoint union C prime prime. From C disjoint union C prime, disjoint union C prime prime. We have an obvious orientation preserving homeomorphism, so it induces a map here. And finally, the isomorphism. Okay, so 3 here. 3 is the standard isomorphism. So if you have a vector space E and you tensorize with the ground field, it's the same thing as the initial vector space of K vector spaces. Okay. So this isomorphism, Z2, must satisfy this condition, and also another one. They must be natural, so they must commute with the linear map. The linear maps induced by cobordisms. So what this means that for all n cobordism sigma C0 C1 H also let's call it sigma from C0 to C1. So, and sigma prime from C0 prime to C prime 1. So what can we have? So I can form Z of C0, the tensor product of the vector space associated to C0 and C0 prime. So what can I do? I can go with Z2, C0 prime to Z of C0 disjoint union C0 prime. But now I can also take the tensor product of Z of sigma prime. I end up with Z of C1 Z of C1 prime. Now I can do Z2 of C1 prime. I end up with Z of C1 disjoint union C1 prime. And here, what can I do? I can consider the disjoint union of sigma and sigma prime. Okay. And we require that this commute. So this is the axiom of multiplicity. There is a last axiom, so it's called the symmetry. What does it say? So it says that for all closed oriented n-1 manifold, so C and C prime, what do I have? So I can consider that C, so that of C prime. I can consider Z2, C prime, and I have Z2, Z of C disjoint union C prime. But I can exchange this vector space using the flip. And if I take Z2 of C prime C, I end up with Z of C prime disjoint union C. And here I have, so here 4. So this must commute. 5. So here 5 for what is the isomorphism for is it usual if you take two vector space U and V, you have a flip map. So this is the standard isomorphism of K vector spaces. And the isomorphism 5, it is induced. So see the remark by the obvious orientation preserving homeomorphism. Okay, so between C, the disjoint union of C and C prime, and the disjoint union of C prime and C. These are two n-1 manifolds. Clearly, there is an obvious orientation preserving homomorphism, and it induces an iso here. Okay, so this is a definition of n-dimensional topological quantum field theory. Of course, here I have unpacked the definition, but maybe I make a remark. And this definition for amounts to say that Z, so for those who know the language of categories, so Z is a. So 1 and 2 means that you have a functor from the category of n-cobordism to the category of K-vector spaces. So 1 and 2 means that you have a functor. 3 means you have a monoidal functor. And 4 means that you have a symmetric monoidal functor from the category of n-cobordisms to the category of vector spaces. Of course, if you know this language, you don't need to unpack the definition. But if you want to unpack the definition, this is what I gave. And the Z2 and Z0 are the monoidal coherence for this functor. Okay, so before the break, maybe I make. Okay, so this looks like a very complicated definition. So let's see at least one example in each dimension. So example. So you take some non-zero element in the ground field K. So, and we want to define n-dimensional TQFT. Yeah. So, for example, you can take set so first we need to for any closed oriented n-1 manifold we set. So we need to define a vector space. Here we just take the ground field K. Easy. So two n-1 manifolds are associated just the ground field K. For any n cobordism, let's call it sigma from C0 to C1, we define Z lambda of sigma. So we need a map from Z lambda of C0 to lambda of C1. So this is just the ground field K. So just multiplication by a scalar here. And I define this to be lambda. Let's take the Euler characteristic of sigma minus the Euler characteristic of, say, C0 times identity of K. So this is indeed a linear map of this. And what we have that, no, we need also to define this, the isomorphism Z0 and Z2. So Z0, so this is from K to Z lambda of the empty set. This is K. So what can we take here? Just the identity. And for C prime plus oriented n minus 1 manifolds, you can set that so what we need an isomorphism from Z lambda of C tensor Z lambda of C prime to Z lambda of disjoncture C and C prime. So this is just what? K tensor K, and this is K. And here the isomorphism you take, of course, is we take the standard isomorphism. It is induced by multiplication in the ground field. Okay, so here are the data. You can verify that Z lambda is an n-dimensional TQFT. So the axiom of, and I finish, the axiom of topological invariance is quite clear because the Euler characteristic is a topological invariant. The axiom of functoriality follows from the fact that if you glue two cobordisms along C1 and take the Euler characteristic, it is the sum minus the Euler characteristic of C1. So locus where the n minus 1 manifold where you glue, and also you use that for a cylinder. This is the same as it's quite clear. C is a retract of the cylinder. Okay, and you see it's an easy exercise to check that you have an n-dimensional TQFT. So you should do this. Okay, so after the break, we will focus on two-dimensional TQFTs. Okay, so we just have seen an example of n minus of n-dimensional TQFT. Maybe let's see another example. called, if I take V A mu state sum then if I have a state sum trips, last time we have defined then the ambitious mu is a two-dimensional TQFT. Okay, so you can check. We have associated a vector space to a closed oriented one manifold, a linear map to two cobordisms, and the Z0, Z2, I let you guess what they are, so they are the obvious isomorphisms. Okay, so maybe I end up with the last definition. We say that two n-dimensional TQFTs, Z and Z prime, we say that they are equivalent. So if they are equivalent as monoidal functors, so what does it mean? If there is a collection, so let's say a family, let's call it, I don't know, C of C and from C of Z prime of C. So you have a family of K-linear isomorphisms where here C runs along a closed oriented n-1 manifold. And so we want that this family of morphism is a natural transformation, so this means so. And we want that this is a monoidal natural isomorphism. So such that for all C prime and all n cobordism, sigma from C to C prime. So what do we want? So what can we do? We can take, I can take Z of sigma, which goes from Z of C to Z of C prime. No, here I can take C of C, Z prime of C, and take here C prime, Z prime of C prime, and here I can take Z prime of sigma. So we want that this commute. So this means this is a natural transformation, and we want that this natural transformation is monoidal. So this means that if I take, what can I do? I can take Z2. From Z of C disjunctional C prime. Now, here, what can I take? C tensor C prime. Here I can take the Z prime 2. I end up with Z prime C disjunctional C prime. And here I can take the disjunctional C disjunctional C prime. So we need that this commute. And the last one is with Z0. What can I do? When I go from K, I can go to what? To Z0, Z0, the empty set by Z0. Z prime 0, I can go to Z prime of the empty set. And here I have C of the empty set. I want this. Okay. So two n-dimensional TQFTs are equivalent if there is such a family of isomorphisms. Okay. Okay, so now we want to classify the two-dimensional TQFTs. Two-dimensional. Okay. So maybe first, I quickly recall what is a graphical calculus. So we already have seen this during the exercise session, but maybe it is something important we will need later on, so I recall it. Okay, so we will represent a k-linear map from as follow. E, F. Okay. So we read from bottom to top. The identity of a vector space. So you can represent it either like this, but also like this. Okay. And so the composition. So if you take two linear maps, you can consider their composition. But here you stack one over the other. If you have a linear map from E to F, another linear map from F to G, capital G. So you represent their composition like this. And the tensor product is like this. So if you have F tensor G so F here from E to F, it's called F prime from E prime to F prime. You can F prime, so E prime F prime. You represent their tensor product like this. F, E, F prime, E prime, F prime. Okay. So this is the notation. Okay, so also, if you have morphism, let's take G from K to F and H from capital E to K, they are represented as follows. So, when the source of the target is the ground field K, you leave it without free end or H. Okay. And now, what is so to each diagram, the key point, it is that to each diagram is associated a morphism. So I'll explain. So on an example, I consider, for example, I don't know, G, H. So I can consider this element A, no, so let's say X, A, B, Y, U, V, W. Okay. Okay. Here, F is a linear map from X to the tensor product of U and V, U and A. G is a linear map from A tensor B to K. And H is a linear map from U to V tensor W. Okay. And we want to associate a morphine to this. So what do? You first cut into strips. So this strip here will correspond to F tensor the identity of B. This strip corresponds to H tensor G. And so the morphism is so the northern composition so this is morphine from X tensor B to V tensor W. Okay, now if you have diagram, they just diagram represent morphisms. And equalities of diagrams correspond to equalities of the associated morphisms. Okay, let's see an example. And in fact, we have this following property. So I can take F, G. So this is the same as F, G. And this is the same as F, G. Let's say if F is from X to Y and G from A to B, X. So we have this property. And why we have this property? You can slide the boxes. Because you have F tensor identity of V is the same as identity of X times G composed with identity of F, the same as F tensor G is the same as identity of Y tensor G composed with F tensor identity of A. And this equality just says that this is a functoriality of the monoidal product. So this is quite clear. So we have this property. So when you play with a diagram like this, you can slice the box using this property. And finally, we also we represent the flip maps, let's say from E cross F to F times E X, X tensor Y, Y tensor X. So here we have the flip map as this. E, F, F, E. And so what do we have? So we can consider so this flip map is involutive. So this means that we have the following properties. If you apply twice the flip map, you have the identity. So we have X, so E, F, E, F, so F, E. So this is the identity. So if I call this map tau EF, this means that tau FE composed with tau EF is identity of E tensor F. Okay, and also you can slide morphism like this. If we take X, A, B, Y, so B, Y, and X, A, X, Y, B. This means that tau Y, B, F tensor G is the same as G tensor F. Tau X, Y, X, A. So we have also these properties. And so using this, so the philosophy is to, instead of using this expression of morphism, we use diagrams. And this is quite useful. Okay, let's see for an example. So non-degenerate. I need the notion of non-degenerate pairing. Okay. Of course, you can play this. You can also, if you know monoidal categories, you can do the same within any monoidal categories. Here, the monoidal category is the category of vector space. And if the category is symmetric monoidal, you have also the symmetry. This works for any symmetric monoidal category. Yeah. Okay, so K-linear pairing. So let's say a pairing. Just say a pairing between vector spaces E and F is a K-linear map from E tensor F to the grand field K. It's just a linear map from E tensor F to K. And we say that a pairing from E tensor F to K, it is non-degenerate if there is some linear map omega, capital omega, there is a linear map omega from K to F tensor E such that what? So the axiom are the zigzag so here E, F, E, this is the identity of E, and F, E, F. So if I want to use just usual expression, so this means that omega tensor identity of E, omega tensor EDE tensor omega identity of E. And the same for the other side. Okay. Just a definition. We want to have an inverse. And so here there's some easy properties. If so such, let's say, such an omega, if it exists, is unique and called the inverse of little omega. Let us prove using graphical calculus that it is indeed unique if it exists. So if I take B such another morphism. So if I take another morphism verifying these properties, such. So how do I prove that it is equal to capital so here it is go from K to F. So we want to prove that omega prime is equal to omega. Okay. And we use graphical calculus, which is much more easy than equalities of morphism. So let's say, so omega prime. What can I say? So let's say, no, if I use the fact that the identity of E, if I take one, let's say 1 and 2, using 1, I can replace identity of E with this. Okay. I remove. Okay, I don't put the color. So now what can I do? I use the properties I can slide boxes representing morphism. So this is this. I slide the box. So this is 1 here for omega, and this is, and now I use 2 for omega prime, and I end up with this. So I have proved using graphical calculus that these inverse are the same. Of course, you can translate using formulas, but it's much more long. But with graphical calculus, it's quite evident. Okay, so maybe there is other properties quickly. So if I have a non-degenerate parity, then E and F are finite dimensional and have the same dimension. Okay. And a remark maybe which is more you are more maybe useful with. So a pairing if you have a pairing like this, it is non-degenerate. If and only if the maps, so from E to F star X upon and the other map, so from F to E star Y image. They are isomorph. Okay. So I let you do this easy exercise. Okay. Okay, so now I need to define what are Frobenius algebras. Maybe 3. Okay. Okay, so quickly, what is an algebra over K? We work over K here. So what is an algebra over K? Is a triple A M U where A is a K vector space. M is a multiplication from M times A to A K linear. We call this the multiplication or product. And U is a map from K to A, K linear, the unit. The unit element is the image of the unit of the ground field by this map U, such that what? So again, using so we need M is associative with unit mu. So what does it mean? So if I denote the product using graphical calculus as, so either I can denote it like this, but here I just don't write A and put like this. And U as, so you either you can put this, but we use this. So what are the axioms of associativity and unitality using graphical calculus? So the axiom so this means what? If I have three elements A, B, C, I can take first the product of A and B, and then the product with C. Or I can take first the product in B and C, and then the product with A. You have this. And unitality, this means that if I multiply with a unit, I do not change. Okay. Graphically, the axiom, so you can traduce the axiom with formula, but okay. So dually, so for example, it's an quick example. The algebra of a group G. If you take a group, you can consider the algebra and you extend the product of G into a product of Kg by linearity. Okay. So dually, what is a coalgebra? Is again a triple, but here you work in the opposite category. So what does it mean? So you have C. So it is an algebra in the opposite category of vector space. So this is a C, K vector space. You have a linear map from C to C, tensor C. K linear. The coproduct. And epsilon from C to K, K linear. We call it the co-unit. And so if I denote such that, it is co-associative, so delta I denote like this, and epsilon I denote like this, so the axiom are the dual. Of okay, so this is an opposite notion, so the dual notion. So it is an algebra in the opposite category of vector space. Let's see an easy example. Just to, for example, we can give, so if I take C is a vector space dimension 2 with bases C and S. So I can define two-dimensional vector space with basis C, S. So I need to define the linear, the coproduct and the co-unit. So here, this your cosinus of A plus B is cos A cos B and sin A sin B, and the sine of A plus B is cos A sin B plus sin A sin B. Okay, so you do remember these formulas. And here, so it's C tensor C minus S tensor S. So C tensor S plus S tensor C. And here we need that epsilon C is 1 and epsilon S is 0. Okay, and you can verify that this is a coalgebra. Okay. So hidden in this formula, there is a coalgebra. Okay. So now I want to define what is a Frobenius algebra. So over K is a quadruple A M U delta epsilon, where A M U is an algebra. So you have a structure of an algebra of the vector space A, a structure of a coalgebra, and you have this axiom. So this means that so this means, I write it for the last time, so this means what? A tensor M delta tensor A is delta M is M. Okay, so you have this formula, but it's much more easy to see this like this. Okay, so this is a notion of Frobenius algebra. Okay, so we have some properties. So if A is a Frobenius algebra, then this pairing, I compose a co-unit with a product. It is non-degenerate. So we have this first property. Now it's very easy with graphical calculus to show this. If you say define this map from K to A tensor A, then you can see, so you have epsilon M omega. So what it is by definition, so epsilon M omega. Now using the axiom here, this equality, you have this. But now, the axiom of a co-unit of a unit gives you this. And similarly, you have epsilon M okay. So, if you have a Frobenius algebra, the composition of the co-unit and the product is non-degenerate. And conversely, if you have an algebra and you have a map, a form on A, okay, linear, such that the composition with M is non-degenerate. So what can you do? So you can define so you let omega from K to A tensor A consider the inverse. and you set delta is, so you have the product. Okay. Then A M U delta epsilon is a Frobenius algebra. So sometimes you will see in the literature this definition of a Frobenius algebra. But this one is, it's a little bit better because it is self-dual. In particular, with this definition, you see easily that the dual of a Frobenius algebra is the Frobenius algebra. If A is a Frobenius algebra, what can you say? Since this pairing is non-degenerate, by the property of the previous section, then you have that A is finite dimensional. Because you have a non-degenerate pairing on A tensor A. And also, the dual is a Frobenius algebra. Of course, the dual of an algebra is a coalgebra, the dual of a coalgebra is an algebra, in the finite dimensional case. Okay, maybe let us see some example of a Frobenius algebra. Let's say if I take A is C and epsilon. So I can either define an algebra and coalgebra using epsilon of the coproduct. Here, epsilon of Z is the real part of Z. So is a two-dimensional Frobenius algebra over R. So here epsilon C to R. Of course, it is a linear map. Another example, you can take the matrices. Epsilon is a trace. The trace of matrices from Mn of K to K. You can take from A is the group algebra, is a Frobenius algebra. Here, epsilon G delta G1. Okay. So there is a lot of examples of Frobenius algebras. So, just I finish with the last definition. So we say that what is a morphism? Of Frobenius algebra. So is a linear map, is a K-linear map, which is a morphism of algebra and of coalgebra. So what morphism of algebra? F of a product is the product of the image. The image of a product is the product of the image. The image of the unit is the unit. And the same for the coproduct. And the co-unit. Okay. These are the axiom. And you have the following property. Any Frobenius algebra morphism is an isomorphism. I give you this as an exercise. So we have a groupoid of Frobenius algebra. Okay. So and next time I will explain how to associate the Frobenius algebra to two-dimensional TQFT, and this association is one-to-one up to isomorphism. Okay.